My name is Kenneth Bailey, and this is Another City is Possible. Where we ask, what does it mean to create more just and vibrant cities?
Mending everything, not even just divides.
Now living in walkable places is a privilege, and it shouldn't be.
It starts from the point of listening.
I really feel that this is going to happen on a local level and a regional level.
Engaging with people who are different and with ideas that are different so they can empathize.
And in this episode, we talk with Galen Gritts. With Galen, his focus on reimagining the city really focused on nature and thinking a lot about regions, particularly rivers, and their relationship to the city. Historical, ecological versus the city as just a man-made infrastructure. Galen really made me rethink how nature, particularly rivers, play a role in the reimagining the future of cities. And I'm excited to share that with you. Welcome to Another City is Possible. I'm hosted by Circus of Life here at Counterpublic, and I'm here with Galen Gritts. I thought I'd interview a set of the other curators to have them think about the role public art might play in addressing fractures and divides in cities. And with that, I want to say, if you'd like to know more about Galen or myself, read the bios and the Circus of Life info. And Galen, thanks for agreeing to spend 15, 20 minutes with us in this conversation.
It's my privilege.
Thank you. So first, I wanted you to talk a little bit about yourself and your interest in St. Louis.
Well, I was born and reared here. I graduated from the University of Missouri, St. Louis in 1975. That's a long time ago, many moons ago. I'm a registered member of the Cherokee Nation, and I am now considered an elder because of those many moons. November 3rd will be the 58th anniversary of me seeing Jimi Hendrix play in St. Louis.
Wow.
That's how old I am.
You saw Jimi Hendrix live?
I did.
Wow.
But in other groups too. I was actually at Chuck Berry's house Christmas Eve, 1972.
Wow.
And he was still young and could do the duck walk. But back to the point, I've always been interested in St. Louis. I grew up in the suburbs, but moved as a graduate student to the city itself, and then fell more in love with the city. Since I have a history degree, that has helped me quite a bit. And I am a member, I have been for 11 years now, for the Disparity Elimination Action Committee of the Program for Elimination of Cancer Disparities. Thank God for academia. They make these long titles, right? What that means is there's a lot of great cancer research gets done in St. Louis at Siteman, Warshoe, and BJC. So this group is trying to drive it down into the communities. And so we know very much of the medical and consequently the cultural and economic differences. Not only the Del Mar divide, but which zip codes have a higher rate of cancer because it gets noticed later and it has less support. And now we're doing a bigger area. We have a van that goes out, so now we go into rural areas too, because they also is a divide because of them losing hospitals. So I'm very much aware of a lot of the divisions that happen in the St. Louis area.
Is there one in particular that gets your goat the most? Or, which one sticks out to you personally?
Well, there are two, and they kind of weirdly overlap. One is the 1876 decision by the city to limit itself to 60 square miles, and then cutting off the county. And then, of course, after World War II, everybody moves to the suburbs, the county gets money. And now even beyond the county, you have Jefferson County and St. Charles and Madison, that sprawl. And St. Louis City is left out of that. As far as I know, we're the only city in the United States that was that stupid. And that has caused a lot of problems because people think of the city in one aspect. And it's cut off from support, it's cut off from We do have some things like the zoo and art museum, tax district, and certain other things. But as a rule, that has been very damning. The other one that I was thinking about this morning is really the rivers. Because the rivers originally with Native people were avenues of communication, were avenues of culture, were avenues to meet people. And of course, we're at the greatest river system in the United States, the confluence of the Missouri and the Mississippi. And you can get to South Dakota, you can get to Oklahoma, you can get to Ohio, Pennsylvania from here by canoe. But the rivers today are barriers because the euphemism is East St. Louis. And that means black, poor, dangerous, because it's across the river. Or the other direction, St. Charles, a whitopia of materialistic white people, is across the Missouri River. And Jefferson County, kind of rubish, backward-looking white people, of course I'm talking in stereotypes, live south of the Merrimack in Jefferson County. And North County, although it's not, or North City, not divided by a river per se, it's because of the way St. Louis is shaped. It's a crescent. So wealth tends to go out west, the Central Corridor, the old Lucas place where Campbell House is, out to Ladue, out to Creve Coeur, out to Eureka. And the north and south sections get left off. So, and we know about the Delmar Divide, so I didn't want to speak so much about it. But the rivers themselves have kind of become barriers, at least in our cultural mindset. Obviously, when I use those terms about St. Charles, Jeffco, St. Louis, many, many fine people in a lot of areas. But we tend to have as a city this weird cultural idea of where people are. And rivers are barriers now. They're no longer avenues of communication, of bringing together.
I wonder, from your standpoint, if we took rivers as a barrier and like one of the main barriers, how is that impacting everyday life? How is it impacting the quality of life for people in all of these cities? And how does it impact you personally?
I sometimes have to live in 2 or 3 different worlds because I live in one world and sometimes you pick up the jargon and the spacing. For instance, just now I asked somebody where the men's restroom was, and they go, well, there's porta potties, but there are potties for everybody. And I understand that, and I usually live there myself, but I also live in a very white suburban world at the same time. So sometimes you forget which world you're in. And it's an odd thing. I think the way we get around a lot of these divides, and I'm going to read a quote here from Jeff Daniels in a movie that I think it was 2009, The Answer Man. He says this in his character: I love kids. They're short, highly emotional people who don't know anything. They rely on their creativity and imagination to get by in the world. A world, I may add, filled with giants. What they do is an amazing feat. So what I want to point out there, besides I just love that quote, and I love that view of children, that they use their creativity and imagination in a world that is larger than them as a tool to negotiate their daily life when they are very powerless. So creativity and imagination is vision, which is very important to Native Americans. Because where there is no vision, the people perish. The book of Proverbs tell us. Creativity and imagination is art. So I think a way to get around some of these divides, I'm going to suggest that somebody look into getting funding for a program in the spring to have different schools, different clubs, different Boy Scout and Girl Scout troops have 3 or 4 weeks where the kids themselves write about division, write about others' children in the area that they don't know anything about. There would be nothing wrong with bringing back a pen pal idea, that somebody in O'Fallon, Missouri would write somebody that lives up by O'Fallon Park in North St. Louis to become friends for that semester or that year, and then have those poems, those letters, that art that they make be displayed in public places, libraries. I don't know if there's malls anymore or not, but certainly then one of the institutions in St. Louis could show that art in their gallery every year for 2 or 3 weeks. I'm thinking CAM, Contemporary Art Museum, but it could be anybody. And the reason that it continues, becomes a thing, is because it gives it gravitas and durability, and people look forward to it. We need to let the children speak, because there's a lot of power there. The adults have messed it up. And sometimes we mess it up unwittingly by not doing enough or by accepting, but the children have a view of reality that we don't. And they connect in ways that we don't. So I would like to empower the children to help us learn to overcome these divides that we have done culturally.
And anything you'd like to see done specifically on the rivers that you think this kind of world could capture or address, the counterpublic world, or sort of indigenous contemporary artists, or any of the socially engaged sort of crowd?
I would like to see a lot more. This city has a lot of murals. I like to see more murals. I like to see murals beyond the city. I would like to see murals in St. Charles County, in Jefferson County, in St. Louis County. I very strongly believe in that. But there are also, nowadays, because of phones, we can have an app that directs people to who the artist was and why they did that. My wife and I went and looked at murals back in May, I guess it was. We had a certain set that we were going to see in St. Louis, and we discovered so many more as we were wandering around from neighborhood to neighborhood. And we ran into people that were walking their dogs or just out for a walk and engaging with people. I really believe that we need to break a little bit of the digital world and engage with actual people. And that has to be deliberate. We have to do it on purpose. So instead of whatever we normally do on the weekend, maybe spend one every month going out and looking at public art and talking to people. Something like that. It doesn't have to be what I like, it can be what you like. But we need to rediscover the commonality of our city, what we have in common.
Anything else you'd like to say about this topic, about divides and bridging divides in cities, or in St. Louis specifically?
I think we're a very divided city. We have all kinds of weird euphemisms that we use. The north side, I know people that just say the city, and it dismisses everybody that lives in that 60 square miles. A very diverse population, always has been, still is, but they're just afraid of the city for whatever reason that is. So it is a very divided city. So I think we need to make an effort to attend things like this. I think we need to engage in art. Even though my father was an artist, a Cherokee artist, I've just discovered my passion through Counterpublic of what can be done because of what they did with the Osage Mounds. It blew my mind that they helped the Osage actually regain control of some of their identity. So I can't say I'm quite on fire for art, but I've been reinvigorated with the power of art. And that's been through Counterpublic and what they have obtained.
I think that's a great place to end. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening. We recorded these conversations at Counterpublic's Circus of Life on November 3rd, 2025, and the theme for these conversations was Bridging Divides. I'd like to thank Counterpublic and Circus of Life for having us do this series of Another City is Possible. I'd like to give a special thanks to Crystal B for helping us with this series. And to listen, you can go to Design Studio for Social Intervention, ds4si.org, and counterpublic.org.